Great to have you here. First of all, what's it like being in London? And, from the UK perspective, how's our hunting game here compared to America?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been here very long, but the best part's been just walking around the little bit that I got to and just seeing so much history here and just really seeing how things are quite a bit different than where I come from. I grew up, I wouldn't say in a rural setting, but not in a city setting either. Probably a lot stronger on the rural side than the city side.
Is it weird being in like an urban environment like this?
It's slightly uncomfortable just for me, as I spend most of my life out in the mountains or alone or in wild places. And so to just have people everywhere, and I feel like it's just a little bit of a stimulus overload in some ways, in a different way, because when I'm out there by myself or maybe just a few people and we're in nature, your senses are, you're taking everything in, your senses, I feel, in some ways become heightened.
Okay.
And then you get into a place where there's a different kind of stimulus and it just seems like too much. You feel too many things going on. It just makes you slightly nervous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing in the wild, you're trying to sense everything. Like you're trying to see a movement over the ridge, or you're trying to smell something or notice tracks. I mean, I'm guessing you're trying to pick up lots of little things. And here you're probably getting hit with too many big things.
Yeah, I think that's it. As well as you're picking up little things, but taking in a surrounding that is almost quiet. But to hear the noises, you really have to listen.
Right.
I think if you go hear the noises, it seems like one big noise when there's a lot of people around. It's hard to pick out the noises. Almost if you think you go somewhere where it's been loud and then you go somewhere quiet and you think there's no sound and then you really listen. Or if you've ever taken, the thing that always happens to people is they'll be out there and they'll take a video, and then when they get home, they'll hear birds and things in the background that they didn't even notice when they were actually in that place.
Right.
It's one of those weird, because it appears to be quiet, but there is a lot going on, but you just have to listen different.
Yeah, and this country has a history with hunting, right? And so this is something we've been doing for a long time here. Not to mention the fox hunt, but also hunting game and like surviving. I think one of the main parks here in London, St. James Park, was there so the king could hunt. Now they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, it does. And I'm not really familiar with the history of hunting in London because I haven't really hunted here or spent much time here. However, I did take a little field trip yesterday just to kind of familiarize myself a little bit more with the culture of it here. And yeah, it's been around forever here, mostly for nobility on estates. And most of the estates were set up so people could leave a city or leave where they lived and have a hunting area. A lot of the big open lands were all set aside for hunting. And many of them actually still are used in that respect for hunting for the family, whether it's the Duke or the Queen or whoever, their guests. I visited a place that was an estate owned by a Duke, and there's a full-time gamekeeper there. They have gamekeepers for birds as well as mammals like the deer, and they do the management on the land. Partially because when you look at the countryside here, a lot of it's deforested. There's very little actual forest left based on my little experience of what I saw, but just a lot of farmed for growing. But a lot of people don't realize for animals to survive, they need first a home, habitat. And so when you take that habitat away, a field is a great source of food for a certain amount of time. And then it just becomes a lot of dirt. They need that forest to survive. So with that forest gone, the gamekeeper's job is to really understand the animals there, the carrying capacity of the land, and then manage it so the natural native forest doesn't get eaten down to nothing, because there are not only native species, but as well as some indigenous species here that kind of throw the balance of everything off. Wow. And so the gamekeeper's job is to manage that as well as facilitate the hunting on those estates, which is completely different than where I come from, where as opposed to hunting is for nobility, where in America or other places that I've traveled, hunting's for the common man. It's your access to public land as well as food and other things. So it's a very different scenario. But one thing I did learn here that was different is a lot of the meat that might be sold, venison, comes from these estates that were probably hunted.
Okay.
So if you go buy venison in a pub or somewhere here, a venison burger, it probably was something that was actually hunted.
So I can probably get some pretty nice, clean, real, wild meat here because these estates have to harvest.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was something that I didn't realize, because that's not everywhere allows that.